As promised, it's time to check out the DPS tier list. Keep in mind that this is my list on how easy and competitive they feel to play and numbers they can reach. I mean, the numbers I can do. Compared to the other list, we have quite a few specs to get through, so let's start. Again, this will be in the alphabetical order of the class. And the first one is Tempest, which got quite a few buffs recently, and it is easier now to do decent DPS, but still not as high as it should be. So I will put this one in the good tier. Weaver is also a good one that can reach very high numbers, and it is a lot easier than before, but compared to Tempest feels a lot more complicated when you need specific skills to be used. So I will put this one in the best tier as the DPS is very good. Catalyst is also on the more complex side compared to Tempest, but the damage is a bit better. This also scales better with bosses that have big hitboxes or multiple enemies, but it is not that good on smaller hitboxes, so I'm not sure. I think it fits better in the good tier. Now moving on to Engineer and starting with Scrapper. This one was buffed in the last tier too, and it is a simple DPS class that can reach very good numbers, but nothing over the top. I think it's in the same range as Tempest, really. I think this one fits in the good tier. Holosmith was also buffed. Wow, actually so many specs got buffed to be competitive that I think I will be repeating myself a lot. Anyway, Holo is a very good DPS, a bit complicated when you start using it, but it gets better. So Holo fits in the best tier, in my opinion. Mechanist now. This one was nerfed last time with the range for the mech, and it is a lot harder to play decently without having to micromanage the pet, especially for the power build. I still think it has good DPS, but it doesn't compete with Holo, so good tier. Let's move on to Guardian, and we can start with Dragon Hunter. I think Dragon Hunter is in a very good spot, with constant buffs being applied every patch now. I think it is a good DPS, close to best, but not there yet, or at least not in my hands. And the reason for it is that the animations feel delayed in a way, like you are playing a Necro. Firebrand. Well, Firebrand used to be very good, but I haven't seen a DPS Firebrand in a Strike or Fractal group in a while, and even I haven't played it myself. I do not think it's bad by any means. It even has the best utility with the tomes, but it is no longer in the best tier in my books. I think it is between decent and good, but more towards good. And Willbender, a personal favorite of mine lately, and not just because of the numbers, but also because of how it feels to play. The animations feel like they connect with each other, and it doesn't feel like there is a delay between skills. So, as you probably guessed, this one will go in the best tier. Time for Mesmers. Chrono is a very good DPS, but not in my hands. I could never time the rotation right, but lately it feels easier to play, so I will put it in the good tier. Next is Mirage, which used to be very good in some situations and then average for bosses that didn't attack much. Now it's just bad compared to the other specs, so this one would fit in the decent category, because you can still do damage, but compared to everything this doesn't feel rewarding in any way. And Virtuoso, which is simply one of the best DPS specs, especially for new players, because of its simplicity compared to Mirage and Chrono, and actually even comparing it to all specs, it is a simple one to get high DPS. So this is easy in the best tier. And we got to Necromancer. Let's start with Reaper. Reaper is, I think, the best AoE DPS. I just finished the build for him this week, and the burst damage is insane, especially if you have 2 or 3 monsters nearby. The rotation feels good, the animations fit perfectly, you have utility inside and outside of Shroud, and honestly, I do not think I need to say more. Easy best tier. Then we have Scourge, which was also buffed big time in the last patch, and it also has a simple rotation and good utility. But based on the complexity and the DPS numbers, I think this one fits in the best tier too. Harbinger, the Drunken Master, which I think was one of the most consistent specs in the balance patches since it launched last year. It was buffed a bit here and there, but it did not have any major changes, so I think this is also in the best tier. And look at that, Necro has all specs in the best tier, and I barely play this character. Ranger is next, and we can start with Druid, which recently got some DPS bonuses, and it is a very good Condi DPS. I see it at the top of the DPS table a lot of times too, so I guess this should be in the best tier. Then we have Soul Beast, which was always a solid DPS spec and did not have any nerfs recently. I played it a lot and I think it has an easy rotation, range DPS, and it can take a hit or two. So again, another best tier from Ranger. And Untamed, which I did not expect to be that good and fun to play with, especially the new Let Loose skill for the quickness version. But we are here for the DPS build, and that one is also very good, and I actually saw a lot of players in PUG groups with DPS Untamed. So again, I think this one is in the best tier too. Okay, time for Revenant with Herald. I haven't played this one in a while, but it hasn't changed much. We had a few buffs to it which were needed, so again another stable DPS spec with a simple rotation and good utility. It doesn't have much range unless you use a hammer, but still I think this is also in the best tier. Then we have Renegade, this one with some range for the Condi version, but not that high DPS numbers. And I do not know why Revenant hasn't buffed this yet like they did with Reaper and Dragon Hunter. But yeah, I think this is in the good tier with some changes needed, but far from unusable. And Vindicator, which did receive some buffs and had a rework to the dodge mechanics, but I still think it is not as good as it should be. Oh, and same as with Herald, you only have the hammer as a long range weapon, so another one in the good tier. Moving on to Thief, and we will start with Daredevil, which I have actually played again this week after a short break from it, and it feels as good as ever. You have very good melee range and short bow if you need to hit something at range and to teleport around. So based on the complexity of the rotation and the DPS that it can reach, I think this is an easy best tier. Oh, and did I mention that you have lots of dodges to avoid attacks? But actually you still have less, because the more endurance you have, the less damage you do. Then we have Deadeye, the most abused spec after the balance patch on the 18th of July, which was really unnecessary as you always have to be in melee range and are very dependent on boons. So honestly, I think this was good the way it was, with high risk, high reward. But now it's just a decent DPS. And Spectre, which compared to Deadeye, it looks like the most stable spec as it only had small adjustments. The DPS is very good and the rotation is not that complicated, so this one will go in the best tier. Okay, and last but not least, Warrior, and we will start with Berserker. This spec is very good with the DPS builds, both Condi and Power. The rotation is a bit on the complex side, but it's still very good, so it should go in the best tier. Spellbreaker, another one with good DPS, a simple rotation and a fun build, I would say. It doesn't reach the numbers that Berserker can, but the rotation is a lot simpler, so I will put this one in best tier too. And Bladesword, which took me a while to take a look at after it was launched, but because the rotation was crazy. After a while I decided to give it a chance and did not regret it. The spec is definitely fun, and if you like seeing huge damage numbers on your screen, you should create a warrior now. I'm still not sure where to put this between good and best tiers due to the complexity and learning curve that it has, but I think once you give it a fair chance, it should be in the best tier. Actually, I think I will make some changes because we have a lot of specs in the best tier. So I will make a new tier and I will call it Best Plus and move Virtuoso, Reaper and Soul Beast to this tier. And done. I think it looks better now. In conclusion, I think there are plenty of DPS builds that you can choose from no matter the class you play, because as you can see we do not have any unusable specs. What do you think about this ranking? And if you would make some changes, what would they be? If you want to see more content like this, please let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, please click the like and subscribe buttons.